you're taking care of the school, which is also found on Oak Street. For the school, you will need these resources. You will need the school record that's up on the screen. You will also need the Neighborhood Employment Agency job listings that you also needed for the daycare. You will need a pencil, and you will need a stamp marker. Now the students, when they come to the school, they are going to need to choose a school for their oldest two children, Eva, who's 7, and Sam, who is 9. They will also pay for appropriate before and after school care that they may need due to their work hours. So the first thing that you're going to do when the students come to you, to your station, is you're going to inform them of their school choices. They have two choices. They have public school, which is actually free, it's $0, or the private school that is $100 per month per child. Now, which that would equal $200 per month for the older two children. Now, the private school specializes in learning disabilities, and so that's a special consideration because Sam, the 9-year-old, actually has a learning disability, and he's been falling behind in school lately, and so it's pretty important that they address that. So once the student makes the decision on whether it's going to be private or public, you'll check mark or you'll X that box so that you can know how much they're going to have to pay each month. Now obviously if it's free, you can go ahead and just X through each of the months because they don't need to come back to you for that if they don't owe you anything. However, if it's $200, you'll check mark that, and then each month that they come to you, when they pay you, then you'll just X through that number for that month. Now, the next thing you're going to do after they make that decision is you're going to look and record their work hours, just like you did for the daycare. Now, the work hours, again, are found on the job listings document, and you'll find what the job is on the left side, and then on the right side, you'll find what the job hours are, and you'll mark those down. Now, the reason that that's important is because the school obviously has operational hours, and the students need to be picked up from the buses and dropped off from the buses after school. So they need to take all that into consideration. And the reason that this is complicated, more complicated than it seems like it should be, is that we want the kids to see how, okay, so they've gotten their own job, but now they have their kids to consider all these different hours they need to worry about and drop off and pick up, and that is reality for most parents. And so we want them to understand how that all fits together. So here's some of the logistics that you'll want to discuss with the students. The buses pick up before school at 6 a.m. and then after school they drop off at 3:20 p.m. Kids cannot be unsupervised before or after school ever, and so they need to the student needs to make sure that their child has some kind of care before and after school. So looking at their work hours, does it work with the school hours, or does it work with the bus drop-off hours? If not, they can look to after-school care, which is operating from 3 to 6 p.m. So that could work for them, and what they would need to do in that case is they would pay $100 per month per child, which would equal $200 for the month for the two kids. So if that's the case and that would help them, then you just check mark the $200, and when they pay for it, then you'll just X through the month. But what happens if they say start work at 6 a.m. and the bus picks up at 6:40 a.m.? They're going to need some kind of help there. So they really don't have a lot of options except if they already have paid for the in-home care with James on the daycare record. If they paid for the $800 for that, then that would cover them for whatever hours they needed because they could choose those hours. So that's a really good deal for them if they're going to have trouble with the before school. It might even be better for them to get that all the way around so they don't have to pay for extended care as well. So those are just some ways that you can kind of balance out that discussion with the kids. The Another way that they could do it is if they wanted to find someone in the neighborhood, maybe a friend who was looking to earn some extra money, they might be able to find a friend who could babysit for them, and they could just pay them privately. And that's okay if they want to try to do that, but that's probably going to be unlikely that they could find somebody that could fit into their time frame. So, but that's just something that you can offer to them. There is another column at the right that's the college tuition column, and this is for parents that might want to go back to school, to college, to further their education and skills. If a student chooses this option, you will just check mark that box, and then they will have to pay that tuition on the spot at that point. So they'd have to pay you $2,000. But the catch is they may not look for full-time work for the rest of the game, and they may not work. They may not have a job during that time because they wouldn't have time. So if anyone chooses that option, you would want to go to the employment agency on Walnut Street and let them know that that student is out of the possible realm of hiring during the whole game. That's probably not going to come up. I doubt that very many students would want that, but we want to show that that's an option always. So that's the school.